Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you. Jaya Goppi Janna Ballabha Giri Badha Hari. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tidabhana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashishimat. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantha Raj Shriman Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shiguranga. So it's text number 21, 87.21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas, text number 21. Durabhagamatmathatva Nigamaja Tattva Tavata Tanosh Charita Mahamrita Dip Parivarta Parishamana Na Parilashanti Keshit Apavargan Apishwara Te Charana Saroja Hamsa Kula Shanga Brishista Griha Durabhagatma Matva Tattva Nigamaja Tapat Tavatatanos Charita Mahamritapi Parivarta pira parishamana na parila shanti kechit apavargan apishwara te charana sarojahamsa kula shanga brishista griha durabaga matma tattva nigamaya tavatatanos charita mahamritadvi parivarta pira parishamana na parila shanti keshit apavargan apishwara te charana sarojahamsa kula shanga brishista griha. Christian Durabaga matma tatvat nigamaya tavat tatanos charita mahamritapti parivarta parishamana na parila shanti keshit apavargan apishwarate te charana sarojahamsa kula shanga brishista griha durabagat matma tattva nigamaya tavat tatanos charita mahamritapdi parivarta parishamana na parila shanti keshit apavargan apishwarate charana sarajo hamsa kula shanga vrishishta griha durabaga matma tatva nigamaya tavat tatanos charita mahamritadhi parivarta parishashama na parila shanti keshit apavargan apishwara te charana sarojahamsa kula shanga vrishishta griha duragama durabhagama difficult to understand Atma of the self, Tattva, the truth, Nigamaya, in order to propagate Tava of you, Atta, who have assumed Tanoho, your personal forms, Charita, of the pastimes, Maha, vast, Amrita, of nectar, Abdhi, in the ocean, Parivarta, by diving, Parishamana, who have been relieved of fatigue, na parila santi, do not wish for, kechit, a few persons, apavargam, liberation, api, even, Ishwara, O Lord, te, your, charana, at the feet, saroja, lotus, hamsa, of swan, kula, with the community, sangha, because of association, vishrishta, abandon, griha, whose homes, translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My Lord, some fortunate souls have gotten relief from the fatigue of material life by diving into the vast nectar ocean of your pastimes, which you enact when you manifest your personal forms to propagate the unfathomable science of the self. These rare souls, indifferent even to liberation, renounce the happiness of home and family because of their association with devotees who are like flock of swans enjoying at the lotus of your feet. Purport. Ritualistic brahmanas, smartas, and impersonalists, mayavadis, always try to relegate the process of bhakti yoga to a relative or minor role. They say that devotion to the personality of Godhead is for sentimental persons who lack the maturity to observe strict rituals or pursue the pursue the rigorous culture of knowledge. In this verse, however, the personified Vedas most emphatically declare the super excellence of devotional service, clearly identifying it with Atma Tattva, the science of the self that impersonalists so proudly claim as their own domain. Srila Jiva Goswami here defines Atma Tattva as the confidential mystery of the Supreme Lord's personal forms, qualities, and pastimes. He also gives a second meaning for the phrase Ata Tanoho. Instead of meaning who assumes various bodies, the phrase can also mean he who attracts everyone to his transcendental body. The pastimes of Lord Krishna in his various expansions and incarnations are unfathomable, an unfathomable ocean of enjoyment. When a person comes to the point of complete exhaustion in his materialistic pursuits, whether he have been searching after material success or some impersonal notion of a spiritual annihilation, he can gain relief by submerging himself in the nectar, in this nectar. As Srila Rupa Goswami explained in his textbook on the science of Bhakti Yoga, Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, rendered into English by Srila Prabhupada as the nectar of devotion, one who tastes even a single drop of this vast ocean will forever lose all desire for anything else. Giving an alternative interpretation of the word Parishramana, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that although the devotees of the Lord become fatigued after repeatedly diving into the endless waves and undercurrents in the ocean of the Lord's pleasure pastimes, these devotees never desire any happiness other than the Lord's service, even the happiness of liberation. Rather, their very fatigues become pleasure for them, just as the fatigue produced by sex indulgence is pleasurable to those addicted to sex. The Supreme Lord's pure devotees become enthused by hearing the charming narration of his pastimes and feel impelled to dance, sing, shout out loud, kick their heels together, faint, sob, and run about like madmen. Thus they become too absorbed in the ecstasy to notice any bodily discomfort. Pure Vaishnavas do not want even liberation, what to speak of other desirable goals, such as an exalted position as ruler of the heavenly planets. This degree of exclusive dedication is admittedly only rarely achieved in this world, as the Shrutis speaking in this verse indicate by the word kechit, a few. Not only do pure devotees abandon their hankering for future gain, but they also lose all their attraction for what they already possess, the common comforts of home and family life. The association of saintly Vaishnavas, the, dis- the association of saintly Vaishnavas, the disciplic succession of masters, disciples, and grand disciples, becomes for them their real family, filled with swan-like personalities like Sri Shukadev Goswami. These great personalities always drink the sweet nectar of service to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Many mantras of the Upanishad and other Shrutis openly declare devotional service to be superior to liberation itself. In the words of the Nrsimha Purva Tapani Upanishad, Yam sarve vedanamanti mumukshavo brahma vadinas cha. Quote, to him all the Vedas, all seekers of liberation, and all students of the absolute truth offer their obeisances. End of quote. Commenting on this mantra, Sri Sankaracharya admits Mukta api lilaya vigraham kritva bhajanti. Quote, even liberated souls take pleasure in establishing the Supreme Lord's deity and worshiping Him. End of quote. The great revival, the great rival of Acharya Shankara, Srila Madhava Acharya Ananda Tirtha, cites his own favorite Shruti mantras in this regard, such as Mukkihyetan upashate muktanam apibhaktirhi paramananda rupini. Quote, even those who are liberated worship him, and even for them devotional service is the embodiment of supreme bliss. And amritasya dara bahudha dohamanam charanam no lokeshu ditham dadhatu om tat sat. Quote, may his feet, which bountifully pour forth floods of nectar, bestow wisdom upon us who are living in this world. In summary, Srila Siddhar Swami prayers, Twat katamri tapatadau biharanto mahamuda kurbanti kritina kechit chaturvargan trinopamam. Quote, those rare, fortunate souls who derive great delight by sporting in a nectar ocean of topics about you consider your four great goals of life: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation to be no more important than a blade of grass. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swamin Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. The subject matter is a very important, which has been established very clearly throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Vedic literature, but specifically in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the fact that here we're hearing the Vedas personified, clearly expressing the supremacy of devotional service. The Bhagavatam, which is considered the Nigama Kalpataro, the ripened, how you say, ripened fruit of the tree of the Vedas. So the essence of the Vedas is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is exclusively a literature in which the supremacy of devotional service is expounded. And it's such an important subject matter because for conditioned souls in this material world, the situation is that it's not easy to actually fully understand this essence that um, the supreme occupation, or uh, the supreme form of worship is loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So it's not a very simple thing, it's not easy. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that very rare people actually are able to know him in truth. Manushanam Sahasresu, out of thousands of persons in this material world, very few endeavor to understand the absolute truth. And the few that actually come to understand the absolute truth, even much more less, much more few, are able to understand him as it is, as he is. So it's not a simple thing. Samahatmas durlaba. Such a great souls are very rare. Krishna declares that the knowledge of devotional service is not only considered the king of all knowledge, but is the king of all secrets. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. So it's very confidential. It's the most confidential knowledge, the most confidential. So it's a knowledge that can be only achieved by taking shelter of a devotee. Someone who has fully experienced this supreme knowledge and most confidential knowledge. One must approach such a spiritual master. Krishna said that this confidential knowledge, he calls it the imperishable science of yoga. So it's the term yoga is a very broad term. It's a path that elevates the conditioned souls to connect with the supreme or with the absolute truth. So there are many processes of yoga, and they can connect to the absolute truth in the different aspects of the absolute truth. In the Vedas, it is explained that there's three aspects of this absolute truth: Brahmanda, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So the process of yoga is a process of transcendence. It's a transcendental path. And according to the particular type of yoga that you do, you can actually connect to these three different aspects of the absolute truth. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita declares that of all yogis, he who fully is engaged in devotional service with great determination, always thinking of him and worshiping him, he is the greatest of all. Krishna declares, that is my opinion. And Krishna's position is that he is God. So it's the opinion of God. Devotees are the highest yogis. But in the material world, the potency of Maya is very powerful. It's a divine potency. And Krishna says that this divine potency, how he put it, Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi. Daivi means divine. This divine energy of mine Daivi Hiesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya. My Maya, my external potency. So Maya is the potency of the Lord that covers the understanding of the conditioned souls. Why he does that? Well, it's because the conditioned souls desires that. Desires to be. We come to the material world with this desire to take Krishna's position and to enjoy separate from Krishna. So when we come to the material world, Krishna facilitates that through the agency of his Maya potency. So the Maya potency covers the living entity, understanding, and therefore is very rare, it's very difficult to break from that. But Krishna is very kind too, because at the same time that he creates a facility for the living entity to try to enjoy away from him, he creates all the facilities, everything is there for the living entity to regain his original consciousness. And he does that by consistently performing these wonderful pastimes. He does that by either coming personally or through the agency of his representatives, his pure representative, to teach the path of pure devotional service. And by the mercy of these associates of Krishna and Krishna himself, one conditioned soul are able to connect to this most confidential knowledge. Besides that, then people are just in complete darkness. Is considered darkness, is considered ignorance. Even personalities who are advancing transcendence, because without taking to devotional service, there's no chance of understanding the absolute truth. And then even if these personalities, without taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, then whatever they do is is how you say, mix with polluted intelligence. Polluted intelligence. That's how the Bhagavatam puts it. Abhishuddha Buddhaja. Abhishuddha Buddhaja. Buddhaja means intelligence. Shuddha means pure. Abhishuddha is not only impure but very impure. Very impure. So, like you say, Param Vijayate. Jayate is glorious. Vijayate is like all glorious. But this is Avishuddha, so impure but very impure. Very impure. Very impure intelligence. In that condition of very impure intelligence, one's mind make up this or concoct these positions of supremacy. But the fact is that not even liberation can be achieved with that impure intelligence. And what is this impure intelligence? That um, that I am disconnected from Krishna. And for transcendentalists, it takes a form of thinking that I am Krishna, I am God. And that's a fall down. So you're not able to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Very soon you fall down for your position of imaginary superiority. So in the purpose, explain that these so-called transcendentalists, they mock devotional service as inferior. It's a process that is there for sentimental people. And that's something that is throughout, um, especially throughout Kali Yuga for sure, but it's something that is present also throughout other ages. We see the presence of personalities who actually, um, throughout maintain some impersonal conceptions. But in Kali Yuga becomes very, very prominent. Even during the times of the narrations of the Bhagavatam, when Sukadev Goswami met Maharaj Parikshit, there were 6 schools of philosophy, of the representative of the 6 schools of philosophy present during the time of Maharaj Parikshit, final 7 days. And most of them were not uh, part of the Bhagavad Dharma. They didn't accept it. So, by the association of Sukadev Goswami, they were able to understand. And the whole pastimes of the Bhagavatam is how Maharaj Parikshit asked his questions in order to benefit all these different schools of philosophy that don't take shelter, fully taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Not only for the benefit of those personalities and all those sages and munis, but also for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga who could be totally confused and misled by these philosophies. And the fact is that in the with the pass of time, when there's times in which devotional service becomes obscure by the influence of Kali, then these philosophies pop out like anything. These impersonal philosophies. So during the time of Lord Chaitanya had to face that impersonalism. Before Lord Chaitanya, it is explained here that the great opponent of Sankaracharya was Madhavacharya. Madhavacharya was very confrontational, you know. And before Madhavacharya was Ramanujacharya. Srila Ramanujacharya presented a philosophy which was a Vaishnava philosophy, but in a way that it was able to be understood by the Mayavadis. The philosophy of the Mayavadis is called, the Shankaracharya was Advaita philosophy, Advaitavad, Advaitavad. Advaita means oneness. And the philosophy that Srila Ramanujacharya presented after to defeat Shankaracharya was called Vishuddha Dvaita. Vishuddha. How is it called? I mean, it's the word that is used is qualify oneness. Qualify oneness. I can't remember something Advaita. I have to check that. But which means qualify oneness. So it still calls it Advaita, but qualify oneness. And the word qualify is where he introduced the Vaishnava understanding that within oneness there's three qualities. There is Ishvara, there is Jiva, and there's Prakriti. So the Supreme Lord, the Jiva, and Prakriti. So qualify oneness. But then Madhavacharya, his philosophy was the Dvaita philosophy. So Advaita and Dvaita, opposite. So there is two and there is nothing more. You don't talk about oneness here. You establish that there is a difference. There's God and God's energy, and there's nothing else. And then Lord Chaitanya came to establish the perfect philosophy to understand the absolute truth, which is the Achintya Veda Tattva philosophy. Simultaneous, once, and difference. But during the times of Lord Chaitanya, it is explained that Lord Chaitanya and his associates, Lord Chaitanya opened the floodgates of love of Godhead, and he inundated the whole world with Krishna consciousness. But there were few people that were really skillful on avoiding being drowned by the flood of Krishna prema. And among the main ones were the impersonalists. They remain, and the Smarta Brahmanas. These two groups were main. And they will criticize the process of devotional service and blaspheme. So there was an instance in which Lord Chaitanya, when he was traveling, going to Vrindavan, he stopped in Varanasi. And in Varanasi, it was the headquarters of impersonalism at that time. Mayavadi philosophies. Many Mayavadi sannyasis. During the time of Lord Chaitanya, Mayavadis were very prominent. So he stopped in Varanasi, and in Varanasi, there was a great devotee. His name was Chandrasekhar Acharya. And there was another great devotee, Tapan Mishra. So these two devotees used to live there. And there was other devotees. There was one that is not given the name, but he was a Maharashtrian Brahmana. So these three devotees were very they basically participated in this wonderful pastimes in where Lord Chaitanya converted the whole city of Mayavadis into devotees. And the situation went like this. When, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Varanasi and his, he performed kirtan in front of the gates of the Bindu Madhava temple, then the Mayavadis started to criticize him. What is this young sannyasi doing all this dancing and singing and crying and all this thing, all this sentimental stuff? That's not the activities of a sannyasi. The activities of a sannyasi is to study the Vedas and to, cultivate jnana. So what is this nonsense? So they heavily criticize Lord Chaitanya publicly throughout Varanasi. The devotees were so upset. I mean, they were hearing the criticism of towards Lord Chaitanya, they couldn't tolerate it. It was very difficult. Lord Chaitanya didn't pay attention to it. He went to to Vrindavan, but when he returned to take care of business there. And again, that time he was instructing Sanatana Goswami, but Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar Acharya, they begged Lord Chaitanya to please address this situation. They can't tolerate it. It was too much. Because the blasphemy was going so far, that in all over the place, Lord Chaitanya has been blaspheming. That he's a sentimental, that he should not be a sannyasi, etc., etc. All these blasphemies. So Lord Chaitanya started to consider, during that same moment, another devotee who was very, very upset with this whole thing, the Maharashtrian Brahmana, he figured it out. He said, anyone who have close association with Lord Chaitanya and are able to see Lord Chaitanya's qualities and character immediately will understand that he's the Supreme Lord. Any person that have some, qualification will understand that. So if he makes an arrangement for these Mayavadi sannyasis to be with Lord Chaitanya, then he's sure that Lord Chaitanya will transform them. So he devised this plan. He said, I'm going to make this huge program in his house and invite all the Mayavadi sannyasis and invite Lord Chaitanya too. So he did that. He invited all the Mayavadi sannyasis, headed by this, the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasis, Prakashananda Saraswati. And he went to invite Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya accepted the invitation. So when Lord Chaitanya went to the Mayavadis, to this the Maharashtrian Brahmana's house, all the Mayavadis were seated in a courtyard. They were sitting very peaceful. Many hundreds and hundreds of sannyasis discussing about the Vedas. And Lord Chaitanya came and he sat in a place where you put your shoes. There's a foot wash area. So everybody will wash the feet there, and then you leave your shoes in that area, wash your feet, and then come into the place. Lord Chaitanya was sitting there by the shoes and the dirty water. He sat there outside the courtyard. Suddenly, the Mayavadis, they take notice of this effulgence that was coming. So when they turned, they were blinded by the effulgence. It was like they were taking darshan of the Brahmajyoti. And they came to, at one moment, see that the source of that effulgence was Lord Chaitanya, who was sitting in that place that was muchi, that was, contaminated. So they immediately, following Prakashananda Saraswati, Prakashananda Saraswati went personally to take Lord Chaitanya by the hand and said, please don't sit there, come and sit with us. Just by that darshan with Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya mercifully reciprocated with them, showing the form that was a form that they worship, the effulgence, the impersonal effulgence. Then immediately they were open and they started to question Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya gave them the explanations, and they were all converted. And they at the end participated with Lord Chaitanya in their kirtan. They became all Vaishnava devotees. So Lord Chaitanya did that. And much later, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, also after the influence of Kali Yuga again obscure the supremacy of devotional service, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur also have to confront these ideas of devotional service being for not only sentimental people, but actually quite degraded people, because devotional service has been hijacked by groups that were claiming to be followers of Lord Chaitanya, but they were not. They were just sense gratifiers, no nonsense. They call the Sahajas and the Saki Bekis and etc. It's a whole bunch of groups that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur described. So between Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they just flattened them and established again the supremacy and the respect of the bhakti process. And but if something is always there, the Mayavadi doctrine always will attract people of sort of type of demoniac mentality. And so Lord Chaitanya dealt with that. And also, I just finished with this because it's established in the verse that just by that association, the association with the Supreme Lord, to be able to hear, in the case of the sannyasis, Mayavadi sannyasis of Varanasi, they were able to witness the pastimes and have direct association with the Lord. But even by direct association or simply by hearing the pastimes of the Lord from his pure devotees, then the same result, ones will be transformed. So therefore, the Shrutis are saying here that um, that that fortunate souls, when they're able to dive into the nectar of hearing and chanting, the pastimes and the activities of the Lord, they actually become so happy that anything else, being pursuing even liberation, becomes like a blade of grass. So this is something. There's several verses that are given here from the Upanishads and from great personalities, including Shankaracharya, that describe that Lord Chaitanya, when he converted a Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was also an impersonalist before meeting Lord Chaitanya, he presented to him a verse that established the same thing. And he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please explain this verse. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explained the verse. The famous verse, the Atma Rama Chamunayo verse. The verse says this. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. So the Atma Rama Chamunayo, even liberated souls who are Atma Rama, they are attracted to the pastimes of the Lord, and they become devoted to hear and narrate the pastimes of the Lord. So the question that was brought by Lord Chaitanya to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is how liberated souls who are supposed to be in the Brahma Bhuta stage and have achieved impersonal liberation, they actually become attracted to uh, hearing the pastimes of the Lord. When the whole premise of the Mayavadi philosophy is that, you know, the form and the activities of the Lord are the product of Maya, so are lower. And impersonal liberation is the absolute truth. And the forms of the Lord are not absolute, are just part of Maya. So then the question is, well, how is that liberated souls are attracted to something lower, taking into consideration this premise? So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explained in that, and then Lord Chaitanya says, well, your explanation is very obscure. So then, in fact, you confuse the whole thing. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, well, so then you explain it. And then Lord Chaitanya goes on to explain 61 different approaches of the same verse in 61 different. So much later, Srila Sanatana Goswami wanted to hear those 61 explanations. And Lord Chaitanya went on to explain to also, not only went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but also to Sanatana Goswami. He took each word of that verse and broke it down with each meaning to basically saying not only actually liberated persons, because he says that Atmarama can be can refer to not only liberated persons but also very conditioned persons. So he broke it down to the from the most conditioned to the most elevated. They all are meant to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Anyone can qualify to hear the glories of the Lord and become fully enlivened and situated in their constitutional position. So, in conclusion, when he analyzed that, when we study the teachings of Lord Chaitanya for specifically to Sanatana Goswami and to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, this is touch. So, it's very, very nice. Any comments or questions?
This drive for liberation seems to be an underpinning for the Mayavadi or the impersonalist philosophy. And the Shrutis here are kind of referencing that particular awareness of the difficulty of material life, because they're referring to it as persons that have become fatigued by material life. But those that don't go that route of just trying to relieve themselves of material life, but rather they have taken to that path of devotion, which you emphasize that this verse by the Shrutis was highlighting. So it seems quite a big shift in outlook that has to take place if one is motivated merely to be freed from the sufferings of this material life versus disregarding the sufferings but putting an emphasis on serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. It seems like a very big shift. So it's kind of very interesting that particular part that you mentioned of Lord Chaitanya and just having the shelter of his lotus feet for some time, or performing some act of devotion, or if not devotion, at least showing some hospitality to him, brought about a conversion or a whole shift into the emphasis no longer being on just wanting to be free of the material world, but rather moving into the path of devotion. It's kind of very fascinating.
Yeah. I think, let me see if I find it very quickly. What Prakashananda Saraswati, after being converted and realized, oh, wow, I mean, his full realization of Lord Chaitanya's position. And there's something that he said. Let me see if I can find it quickly. It's very beautiful. Oh, here's exchange of. I mean, we have to have a little time for. So Prakashananda, this is when he was questioning Lord Chaitanya, but now his heart was open. He say, I understand that your name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You're a disciple of Sri Keshava Bharati, and therefore you're glorious. You belong to our Shankara Sampradaya and live in our village, Varanasi. Why then do you not associate with us? Why is it that you avoid even seeing us? You're a sannyasi. Why then you indulge in chanting and dancing, engaging in your Sankirtan movement in the company of fanatics? Meditation and study of Vedanta are the sole duties of a sannyasi. Why you abandon these to dance with fanatics? You look as brilliant as if you were Narayan himself. Would you kindly explain the reasons that you have adopted the behavior of a lower class people? So, anyway, Lord Chaitanya gave the answer about that his spiritual master, my spiritual master considered me a fool, and he gave me this mantra and like that. So he went on to give him the explanation about the holy name. So eventually they gave all the teachings, quite elaborated. So after finishing that, after hearing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Mayavadi sannyasis were moved, their minds changed, and thus they spoke with pleasing words. So this is now the Mayavadi. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have said what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune obtains love of Godhead. Dear sir, there is no objections to your being a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Everyone is satisfied with this. But why do you avoid discussions on Vedanta Sutra? What is the fault in it? So they still have doubts. After hearing the Mayavadi sannyasi speaking that way, Lord Chaitanya smiles slightly and say, my dear sirs, if you don't mind, I can send something to you regarding Vedanta philosophy. Hearing this, the Mayavadi sannyasis became somewhat humble and addressed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Narayan himself, who they all agree he was. Dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they say, to tell you the truth, we're greatly pleased to hear your words, and furthermore, your bodily features are so pleasing that we feel extraordinary satisfaction in seeing you. Dear sir, by your influence, our mind has greatly satisfied. We believe that your words will never be unreasonable. Therefore, you may speak on Vedanta Sutra. So, you see the transformation of the heart that now they're experiencing satisfaction that they never experienced before. Just by seeing Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's quality. This was what the Maharashtrian Brahmana was thinking when he was making the arrangement. If they see Lord Chaitanya, they finish. You know? So he goes on to say, to explain about the Vedanta Sutra thing. And, he completely demolished the whole Mayavadi philosophy. So after that, all the Mayavadi sannyasis say, Your Holiness, kindly know from us that we actually have no quarrel with your refutation of this meaning, for you have given a clear understanding of the sutras. So they go on to say, we were your they were obliged to follow, Shankaracharya because they were representative, but they were all converted to devotees that wanted to find Prakashananda Saraswati just telling, I don't find it here, I have to see it. But you get the idea. It's very, very nice. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, girls. Yes, so just very nice. Anyway, Raminta, you have anything to ask? Okay. You've been reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, so
Just very grateful and to get this experience of interpretation of the scriptures. It's very beautiful and uplifting. Thank you.
Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.